It's the morning of Sunday, February 16th, 2003.
The diamond district of Antwerp is silent. The busiest square mile in the jewelry world, shut for the weekend. 2 floors beneath the street sits a vault. Not just any vault. It is wrapped in 10 separate layers of security. A lock with 100 million possible combinations. A magnetic seal. A seismic sensor that feels footsteps. Infrared detectors that read body heat. A motion sensor. A light sensor. And a steel door weighing 3 tons. In the trade, it is considered impenetrable. In its entire history, no one has ever broken in. A manager walks down to open it for the day. The door swings wide, and 109 of the 189 boxes inside are torn open and empty. Diamonds, gold, and cash. More than $100 million. Gone. Not a single alarm has gone off. The man behind it looks like nobody. For over 2 years, he has rented an office in this very building. A quiet Italian diamond dealer with his own key and his own badge. His name is Leonardo Notarbartolo, and he leads a crew of thieves from Turin who have just done the impossible. Walked into the most secure vault on earth and emptied it without leaving a trace. The police have no suspects, no forced entry, no alarm, nothing. Nothing except a bag of garbage dumped in a forest miles away. How do you beat a vault that cannot be beaten? And how does the perfect crime fall apart? Over the trash. We built this channel because we are obsessed with cases like this one. And our goal is 1,000 subscribers in 30 days. So subscribe and get a new documentary every single day. To understand the robbery, you first have to understand the place. This is Antwerp, Belgium. And for 500 years, this one small district has been the beating heart of the global diamond trade. According to the trade, roughly 80% of the world's rough diamonds pass through these few streets. On any given day, the stones moving through Antwerp are worth billions. At the center of it sits the Antwerp Diamond Center, a building where hundreds of dealers keep their stones. And below it, 2 floors underground, sits the safe that the entire district trusts with its fortune. To the people who worked there, it had a reputation. It was simply unbeatable. Take a look at what protected it. A combination lock with 100 million possible numbers. A separate steel key. A magnetic field on the door that would trip the alarm if the plate was ever pulled away. Inside the vault room, a sensor that read heat and motion together. A light detector. A seismic sensor in the walls. And a door of solid steel weighing 3 tons. For decades, that reputation held. Thieves cased the building and walked away. The layers weren't just strong, they were a message. Don't even try. And for a long time, nobody did. Any one of those would stop most thieves. Stuck together, they were considered overkill. The vault had never been broken into. Not once. The men who designed it believed genuinely that it could not be done. The School of Turin was about to prove them wrong, and they were going to do it almost without touching any of it. The man at the center of it was Leonardo Notarbartolo, a charming, well-dressed Italian who looked exactly like the dealers around him. And that was the point. Years before the heist, Notarbartolo did something no thief is supposed to do. He didn't break in. He moved in. Posing as a diamond merchant, he rented an office inside the Antwerp Diamond Center. And that rental came with something priceless. A tenant's badge. After-hours access to the building, and his own safe deposit box inside the very vault he intended to rob. For years, he came and went as a familiar face. He wasn't an intruder. On paper, he belonged there. But Notarbartolo didn't work alone. He belonged to a crew investigators would call the School of Turin, a group of specialists, each with a single craft. Alarms, electronics, locks, precision. Investigators would give them almost mythical nicknames. The man they called the King of Keys, who could copy almost any lock by sight. The genius, the alarm and electronics expert, the muscle, and the speed man for the getaway. Together, they weren't really a gang. They were a company of craftsmen, each one hired for a single, perfect skill. Patiently, they studied the vault. According to the investigation, they hid a tiny camera near it, disguised, pointed at the dial, and they filmed the combination being entered. Then came back for the footage later. Quietly, they learned the number that was supposed to be unguessable. And then they did something extraordinary. Investigators believe the crew built a replica of the vault in a warehouse back in Italy. And they rehearsed. Over and over, they tested how to defeat each sensor without setting it off. They learned that the heat and motion detector could be fooled. By the time they were ready, they weren't improvising. They were performing a routine they had practiced for months. On the weekend of February 15, 2003, with the district shut down, the crew went in. There were no explosions, no drills screaming through steel. What happened next was closer to a magic trick than a smash and grab. Take a look at what happened. One by one, they took the layers apart. The heat and motion sensor, the device meant to feel a human being standing there, was carefully covered and neutralized. The light sensor was handled. The magnetic alarm on the door was bypassed, without breaking the seal that would have triggered it. And here is the detail that stunned investigators. To beat the sensor that read heat and motion, the crew didn't smash it. They covered it. A simple shield slid into place, blinded the eye that was meant to feel them standing in the room. Hairspray, polystyrene, tape, ordinary materials used with extraordinary patience. The most advanced vault on Earth defeated by hardware store tricks. And the lock with 100 million combinations? They already had the number. The 3-ton door, the centerpiece of the whole system, simply swung open. No force, no alarm. Just the right code, the right key, and men who had rehearsed this exact moment for the better part of a year. Inside, they went to work on the safe deposit boxes, using a simple handmade tool to lever them open in seconds. They didn't touch all of them. They didn't have to. 109 of the 189 boxes were emptied. Loose diamonds, gold, cash, jewelry poured into bags. The total has never been pinned down, but estimates start at more than $100 million and run far higher. And then they walked out. They went home. By the time anyone opened that vault on Monday morning, the School of Turin was already gone. And not one alarm had ever made a sound. It should have been the perfect crime. It very nearly was. When the theft was discovered, the police faced a wall. No forced entry, no triggered alarm, no witnesses. The most secure vault in the world had been emptied, and the building's own systems had recorded nothing. They had a crime and almost nothing else. And then, miles from Antwerp, the case cracked open. Not in the vault, but in a forest. Along a quiet route near the town of Flodambos, a local man had grown furious about people dumping trash near his property. According to the case, he went to clear it, and in the bags, he found something strange: envelopes, receipts, and a partially eaten sandwich. It was ordinary garbage. It was also, by accident, the crew's biggest mistake, because the trash wasn't random. Among it, police found receipts and traces that tied the rubbish directly back to Leonardo Notarbartolo, the polite Italian dealer who rented an office in the very building that was robbed. The man who had spent years making himself invisible had thrown away the one thing that pointed straight at him. He was arrested, and the polite diamond dealer was now the prime suspect in the heist of the century. Leonardo Notarbartolo was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Some of his accomplices were caught. Others were never conclusively identified. But here is the part that still keeps the case alive. The diamonds, the $100 million and more in stones poured into those bags, were never recovered. They simply vanished into the world, and most have never been seen again. And there's one more twist. Years later, from prison, Notarbartolo gave an interview claiming the official story was wrong, that the heist was smaller than reported and part of an insurance fraud scheme involving someone on the inside. Investigators were never able to confirm his version, and much of it may be the self-serving story of a convicted thief. To this day, no one knows exactly how much was taken or where it went. So how do you beat a vault that cannot be beaten? You don't break it. You study it. You live beside it. You practice for a year, and you walk in through the front. In the end, the School of Turin wasn't undone by a better lock or a smarter alarm. They beat every machine built to stop them and were brought down by a bag of garbage in a forest. The perfect crime came apart over the trash. The case became legend. Books, documentaries, even film deals, all chasing the same question the police never fully answered. How much was really taken? And by whom?
This was the second Red File. There are many more.
Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.
But this crew weren't the only ones to pull off the impossible.
The FBI once built its own secret phone app and used it to spy on the entire criminal underworld. Tap the screen and watch that one next.